Juan Le Prince, thank you so much for joining us on the Plan Trainers podcast today.
Thank you so much.
We're very excited to talk to you. And before we do, we wanted to know if you have a moment of gratitude to share with us and our listeners.
Yeah, I would say prayer. I think prayer has been really essential for me during this time with all this chaos and negativity that I've endured right now. And it's kind of like a form of meditation for me, just to ground my energy. And it's something that I do morning, evening, and it's just, if I'm having a really stressful day, it just calms me down. That was something I'm really grateful for.
Has prayer, if you don't mind me asking, has prayer changed for you? Were you somebody who prayed as a family as a child, and does that prayer change now from religious to non-religious, or how has that evolved for you?
I'm not really religious, but I've always prayed, but I think that I'm just more grateful now with my prayers. And before, because I was always so busy with life and with acting and going to events, and I just think that now I take my time. Like with meditation, you have to take your time with it. You can't just like go through it so fast. So same with prayer. I just take my time and I'm not rushing obviously anywhere. So I would say, yeah, that's basically the main thing that I'm doing right now is praying, meditating, yoga, things just to ground me and not be in my mind so much.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people over the last couple of months have really maybe changed their mindset where that may not have been as important for them, but as time changed over the last 6 months and maybe they had more time for it or more need for it, it's now incorporated as part of their life.
Yeah, and I think that, coming out of all of this, I think it's something that I'm going to incorporate, even more so, just because it really does. It's just such a stress reliever, and to be connected with something that's bigger than yourself. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to go to a certain church, but just to believe in something is just so relaxing and soothing, and all those just, negative thoughts just seem to go away when you just get on your knees and just pray and let all that, whatever's bombarding in your head just to come out and express it to something that's greater than you.
And those negative thoughts are something that you have become accustomed to as a child. You had a lot of negative thoughts. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about what was going on in your life and your
Mhm.
journey through that?
Yeah. So when I was younger, I always knew that there was something different about me. I didn't really know it was my sexuality until I got to maybe junior high, and and then I started to really know about eighth grade, and and it was really hard for me because I was picked on, especially in elementary school. Even though I wasn't out, I think people just got the impression, obviously, and I would go in the bathroom and I would cry, and maybe people that were close to me, people in my family, didn't understand it, so they would also just say negative things, and that was just really hurtful. And I think that built up a lot of trauma inside of me that I wasn't aware of, and I suppressed it a lot. I came out in high school, my freshman year of high school, and I was supported with so much love from primarily the girls in high school. Um, Boys too, but it was primarily girls. But all that trauma was very suppressed. And when I graduated, it all came up again. And that's when I just became extremely depressed and, would seek some type of help, but it just seemed like nothing was working. I would go to therapy, multiple psychiatrists, and they would give me medication after medication, but it wasn't really moderated correctly. And so it was really difficult. So I was in this loop for, 4 years, I would say, and had thoughts of not wanting to live, almost being hospitalized, um, and then I think just little by little, I started to follow my passion, and I knew I loved the entertainment business. Um, so I just said, okay, I'm just going to take one class at school, just anything film related, and things just got better over time. And I started, just doors started opening. I started meeting people. I moved to LA, and that was, I'm still a work in progress. I think depression never really goes away, but I'm definitely in a much better space than I used to be. And I'm now an actor and have been in various, Hispanic shows, and have upcoming shows coming, a show that's coming on Netflix, hopefully. So I'm very excited for all of that, and I'm grateful for everything that I've gone through, because it's made me, who I am today.
Can't be an easy journey, and going through all that depression and those hard times and being treated the way you were treated. I mean, I can't imagine what you went through, but I'm thinking that for people listening, there must be somebody who may have gone through something similar or is currently going through something similar. What would you say to that person as far as what they could do to find the support, or how could they get the strength or confidence
Mhm.
to get through all the pressures that they're feeling and the thoughts that they're thinking?
I mean, I feel writing is therapeutic. I've had friends, and it's like almost unimaginable to me. Their parents kick them out of the house. I'm so grateful that my mom was always very instrumental in my life, and always very supportive and encouraging as well, along with my dad. Um, but I would just say express your thoughts onto paper, and find and write how you can make this world a better place. What's your passion in life, and take baby steps. When I was first going through my depression, I took one class at college, and that one class opened up so many doors. I started working for someone who is someone that's very well known. I became her assistant, and I learned a lot. And then gradually, I would go to events and premieres, and it's all about baby steps, and also veganism has helped a lot. I discovered veganism, and so I think it's about finding your passion and then taking baby steps, and eventually you'll find happiness. And just to be patient. I think, I wanted things to get better within those years so badly, but it was at the perfect time that things got better.
I want to thank you so much for being open and honest with your whole journey. And there's so many parts of it that I want to go a little bit deeper in. But if I can rewind back to elementary school, so before you came out, and one
Hmm.
thing that we try to do with our children as being plant-based, being vegan, is we don't just want our children to have empathy and sympathy towards and respect towards animals, but we want them to have it for themselves, for us, and for other humans as well. And I could remember in elementary school kids kind of pegging other kids as being gay before maybe they even knew, or
Yeah.
before they definitely had come out, and it not being a pleasant situation for those other
Mhm.
for those for them. And I always want my children, when they see somebody who is different than what they expect, or just different in general, I want them to be respectful, and they can be and they are on the other side of it, just being vegan in the first place. They're definitely on the other side of it. And
Mhm.
I'm sure it'll come up that there'll be other times where they're not, mainstream as well. So what so are you saying that you had that experience too, before you really knew, or before you had come out, that other children had kind of picked up on it and you were maybe bullied in that way? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, and it was just perplexing to me because, sexuality is very complicated. So it's just like I didn't really know. So it was just people saying, of course I was born gay, but you're not really looking at other boys, because you're still so young. So when other boys or girls would say things to me, it was just really confusing because I just didn't understand. Or when close people in my life would say it to me, and so yeah, it was very confusing and perplexing. Again, I found it. I'm so grateful that I have a mom who's been so encouraging. I hear these stories about and close people in my life that they're kicked out of the house, and sometimes I let them stay with me, and just because their parents are, believe that love is between a man and a woman, and so it's insane. But I grew up in a small town as well, so it was, you never saw things like that. You never saw two men holding hands, two women holding hands. and if you did, it was very seldomly. And but now I'm in LA, you see that all the time, and um, in LA you actually don't know who's straight, who's not straight. but but it's I just think, you know, every sexuality is just to be, it's just who you are. It's not a big deal. And I think people make it a bigger deal than it is, and it's always been confusing for me because I've always been like an honest person. When I came out, I was just so honest about everything. I remember being at a dinner table and I was with family, and a family friend of my mom asked me, she said, "Oh, do you have a girlfriend?" In front of everyone. I was like, "Oh, no, I like boys." And this was obviously after I'd come out. My parents knew and everything. And I mean, the table was just frozen. I mean, no one said a word. But it's just like, that's just how I am, you know. I believe God loves me the way that I am, you know, and I don't really, I care obviously what people think, but to a healthy extent. And so, yeah.
Do you think that your experience of being bullied earlier on, but being accepted so much in high school when you came out, do you think that that helped shape some of your compassion and help you lead towards veganism more?
Yeah, definitely. I remember coming out in ninth grade. I was depressed, extremely depressed prior, and then I came out in ninth grade. I did it over social media, over Facebook. I wrote a status that said, "After many years of pain and many years of hiding, I'm finally ready to say that I'm gay and I'm okay with it." And I remember the next day, like all the girls would come up to me asking if they could be my best friend, and like they can do things to hang out with me. And that was just a really beautiful experience. I think one of the happiest moments of my life, because it just seemed like everything was very like gloomy and dark before that. And just when I finally told God, the universe, or when I opened up to the world, it felt like the world opened up to me. And so yeah, I guess I make choices, and in those choices there's power. And I think veganism, I remember I saw a woman on television, and I'm sure you guys know who she is, Alicia Silverstone, who's very involved in the vegan community. And I remember I couldn't believe how vibrant she was, and how this like energy that she had, and it was just so amazing. And that's when I first discovered what veganism really was. I had no idea. And I just started researching and researching, um, and then and then I started having health issues when I was about 23, and that's when I made the transition, cold turkey. But yeah, I do think it was because I was bullied and all of that, that I had compassion for others and for animals, and had empathy because I had gone through so much.
So once you found veganism at that point, what was the impact that it had on your life, both
hmm
physically, mentally, and how did that impact your whole world basically?
It Well, I started with really bad stomach aches. I was constantly going to the bathroom early in the morning and just, you know, just throwing up what I had the night before. I would wake up with these huge stomach pains, and my mom was really concerned, and she took me to the doctor to see if there was anything wrong, or if I was allergic to maybe some type of food. Um, and the doctor said I wasn't allergic to anything. So I researched and researched, and I just took it into my own hands, and I became vegan. And the results were probably within that week. No stomach pains. I felt a sense of clarity. Um, I just felt like lighter walking through the world. And my nails got stronger. Like my hair got better. My skin got better. You know, I'm sure you guys hear this all the time, but it's just like the depression went away, a lot of it. And just as an actor, going to an audition room or filming, I used to get a lot of anxiety. Um, but now, once I made the transition, it just felt like that anxiety subsided. And so, I mean, I can go on and on, but those were the main things that I really noticed a huge difference in.
And did that influence your family at all?
Yeah, that's what I think I love the most is because before I was vegan, we used to have like cow's milk in my refrigerator, and we used to have like just the American standard diet. Like we would have like unhealthy animal products, and now we have like coconut milk. If you look at my refrigerator now, it's just like all greens. And that's amazing for me because it's just like I want them to be healthier as well. And they still do eat their, some animal products are not completely vegan, but I can just tell that they feel so much better as well. And then my friends are like, "Oh, what are you doing? You look so, you look lighter. You look like, or not lighter, but you look like you're glowing and you look happier," and it inspires them. And I give them tips and it's been wonderful. I think that's the main thing that I love so much is it's inspired people close to me.
And so there's a lot of stigma around being vegan or being plant-based, and a lot of people don't like to tell their families, right? Or don't like to bring up the subject, or don't always feel confident. Do you think that your past and what you had gone through in terms of coming out, those past experiences made you stronger as a vegan and being more confident in that? Do you think that that had a role?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always like lived my life to the beat of my own drum, and I think that I've always wanted to do what I wanted to do, and it's just like even being gay. People are like, "Oh, you're not gonna have a girlfriend. You're not gonna get married to a woman," and or being an actor. "Oh, you want to be an actor? You're not gonna be a doctor. You're not gonna do." you know and with veganism, you're not gonna you care about animals. You wanna just eat fruits and vegetables, even though there's so much more that's delicious, and even though it's all plant-based. But it's like I've had the most amazing vegan burgers, even better than regular burgers, or not regular burgers, animal meat burgers.
You mentioned before that in LA you can't really tell who's gay or who's straight, and I think LA is
Mhm.
a great place to be vegan as well, right? Because
Yeah.
it's there and it's so available. So what are you doing to help other people feel empowered to beat to their own drum also and live their own life, whether they're living in a place like LA or a small town like you grew up in? What messages do you have for people who are ready to just own their own values?
I just think that people care too much about what others think. And I think my advice to just anybody who's, you know, living in a small town or in LA, just to take baby steps into whether that be the way you're eating, what you want to do in life. It's all about baby steps, um, and knowing that there's power in those decisions that you're making, because you're the one making those decisions. There's not other people that are making those decisions for you. And and you have to really just and stick to it. And you can't really listen to the noise, because the noise will get to you if you pay too much attention to it. Even in the beginning, it was hard to be plant-based, because my parents didn't really understand it. Not necessarily friends, but just the way our family was, they would always eat, animals, and they would say, "Oh, that's not healthy for you. That's, you're gonna get sick." But then after, I used to have these really bad dark circles under my eyes, and my mom could see that I wasn't healthy. She started to realize how much energy, how much more energy I had. And I work with a nutritionist who's also vegan, and has expressed to my mom how healthy I am. And so that's great to just always prove people wrong, with acting, being in shows when people said I would never get a job, and with vegan, feeling the healthiest I've ever felt in my life, and being openly gay, and just not having to hide anything, not having that weight on my shoulders that I can't, express certain things to people. So
I think that's huge. And if you're lucky that you found the plant-based diet so young, because it means that you'll get more roles later on. You'll have younger and younger roles moving forward. So you'll have a longer career in acting as well.
yeah. And I remember, like, I honestly remember it was like it was yesterday. I saw Alicia Silverstone on the screen, and I was just so memorized. And I've met so many people in the industry, and I'm not someone who gets starstruck, but when I spoke to her, it was kind of like this, a virtual setting. I almost fainted. Like, I was so, because that's someone that's left an impact on me, and
It's
I
more
wouldn't
than
know
just her
about.
acting career, right?
Yeah,
It's what
it's
she's
about
doing in the
veganism.
world,
It's
right?
about veganism, and so I wouldn't have. She introduced me to that world. I wouldn't know what veganism was really, or I probably wouldn't have paid attention to it. But the way she expressed it, and the benefits that she received from being vegan, I was just so inspired by her.
And how do you feel had you not gotten control over the depression in your life that would have impacted your acting career and your day-to-day career? Or your day-to-day life, I should say.
I would say that I was scared at one point it wouldn't go away. I would try and get help. I would go to pastors, not all pastors are the same, obviously, but some pastors would tell me, that I was going to burn in hell, and that I was living in sin, and the doctors that I was seeing, the psychiatrists, they would give me like 5 medications at once just because it wasn't being moderated correctly. But then I found a doctor who did moderate the medicine correctly. And it's also about finding a community that loves you and supports you. And it was just hard at one point because I didn't think things were going to get better, because the people that were supposed to help me were telling me that I was going to go to hell. And obviously, someone who's 16 years old, that is really bad. That's really, not good for them mentally. And so it was a rough journey, but I always had hope, and I'm happy that I'm happy that I'm in the space that I'm in right now. Yeah.
Seems like you've been on a wild ride and you've gone through a lot of trauma in your life, and through the depression and then your lifestyle, and just finding veganism and really making that transformation is amazing. We're so happy for you and where you're at today. And I'd love to know a little bit about what you're doing in your acting career, and what kind of acting are you doing? What kind of shows? You mentioned Netflix. You have a show coming out.
Yeah, where could
so
we see you?
yeah, we'd love to know a little bit more about that aspect of your life.
Well, I have. It was actually written for me, the role, by a friend. My character is named Imogen, and it's based upon a teenager in high school named Joshua Walker, and his dad is an infamous serial killer, and he's in jail. But then he escapes, and people start dying, and and it's hopefully it's going to be on Netflix. I can't say too much because we're still in post production, but we're trying to find a home for it. But I think Netflix might be it. But I'm excited. It's going to be a good show.
That's super cool. And you were on an Emmy nominated talk show as well. Tell us what that experience was like.
That was amazing, because I've obviously done a lot of press for things coming out, Hispanic shows, that was my first time really telling my story, kind of how I'm telling you guys. And what I told her in that interview, which I had never told anyone, is I used to work in retail a long time ago, and there was, before and after my shifts, I would always go into the cosmetic store near my store. And there was this woman who kind of befriended me, and she would go into my store, and I just thought it was so awesome that this woman just like loved me so much, and she thought it was so sweet and cute. And And this was while I was going through my depression. And one time I was kind of expressing to her how I was feeling, and she told me that, my me being gay had a lot to do with it, and my life would be better if I wasn't gay. And this is, everything that I'm saying to you is what I was saying to the host. And that really hurt me because it was someone that I was didn't really know me, but knew me in a sense. And so I told my mom, and I was surprised because my mom kind of was very like nonchalant about it. Like she was like, "Oh, it's gonna be okay," and like didn't really care at that when I told her. And then the next day, the woman contacted me and told me that my mom went into the store and told her things that I don't want to repeat on camera. But that was powerful because I took that. I think that was such a defining moment in my life because I said I'm gonna use this experience and be for boys and girls that are gay or just people who are depressed. What my mom has been for me my entire life, and so I got emotional in the interview, but it was good because it was good to vent, to tell my story on television, and so it's been a crazy journey, and a lot of people that have that I've encountered that are negative, but I think that fixating your attention on the positive is what's always gonna is the most important thing.
I think that's really important. And then finding someone who can support you like your mom did
Mm-hmm.
is
The mama bear came out.
yes, super
Yeah.
important and helpful for people that are going through these types of struggles. So for our listeners who have something similar or want to connect with you based on what they're going through and maybe looking for some inspiration or some source of empowerment, where would they go and how could they connect with you further?
Yeah, they can connect with me on Instagram on that's Juan Le Prince _ so Juan Juan and then Le and then Prince _ and so I'm on there a lot.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
And we're going to link to that in our show notes at plantrainers.com. Juan, thank you so much for joining us today, for being so open and honest with your story. I know that there are people out there who are either going to find inspiration through your strength or will be able to share this with somebody who they know needs extra strength, extra inspiration, and just somebody who needs to walk to their own beat and just hasn't found that they're ready yet. I think that this is going to help them on their journey as well. So thank you so much for sharing your journey.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.